Okay, we are on chapter 3, and if you're following along with the PDF in Google Classroom, it's the top of page 28. It's the first day of school, and the teacher, Miss Caroline, has told Burris Ewell, the big, dirty kid with a mouse in his hair, to sit down, and he doesn't like it. Top of page 28. Little Chuck Little got to his feet. "Let him go, ma'am," he said. "He's a mean one, a hard-down mean one. He's liable to start something, and there's some little folks here." He was among the most diminutive of men, but when Burris Ewell turned toward him, little Chuck's right hand went to his pocket. "Watch your step, Burris," he said. "I'd soon kill you as look at you. Now go home." Burris seemed to be afraid of a child half his height, and Miss Caroline took advantage of his indecision. "Burris, go home. If you don't, I'll call the principal," she said. "I'll have to report this anyway." The boy snorted and slouched leisurely to the door. Safely out of range, he turned and shouted, "Report and be damned to ye. Ain't no snot-nosed slut of a schoolteacher ever born can make me do nothing. You ain't making me go nowhere, missus. You just remember that. You ain't making me go nowhere." He waited until he was sure she was crying, then he shuffled out of the building. Soon we were clustered around her desk, trying in our various ways to comfort her. He was a real mean one, below the belt. You ain't called on to teach folks like that. Them ain't Makeum's ways, Miss Caroline, not really. Now don't you fret, ma'am, Miss Caroline. Why don't you read us a story? That cat thing was real fine this morning." Miss Caroline smiled, blew her nose, and said, "Thank you, darlings," dispersed us, opened a book, and mystified the first grade with a long narrative about a toad frog that lived in a hall. When I passed the Radley place for the fourth time that day, twice at full gallop, my gloom had deepened to match the house. If the remainder of the school year were as fraught with drama as the first day, perhaps it would be mildly entertaining. But the prospect of spending 9 months refraining from reading and writing made me think of running away. By late afternoon, most of my traveling plans were complete, when Jem and I raced each other up the sidewalk to meet Atticus coming home from work. I didn't give him much of a race. It was our habit to run to meet Atticus the moment we saw him round past the post office in the distance. Atticus seemed to have forgotten my noontime fall from grace. He was full of questions about school. My replies were monosyllabic, and he did not press me. Perhaps Calpurnia sensed that my day had been a grim one. She let me watch her fix supper. "Shut your eyes and open your mouth, and I'll give you a surprise," she said. It was not often that she made crackling bread. She said she never had time. But with both of us at school today was an easy day for her. She knew I loved crackling bread. "I missed you today," she said. "The house got so lonesome long about 2 o'clock, I had to turn on the radio." "Why? Jem and me ain't never in the house unless it's raining." "I know," she said, "but one of you's always calling in the distance. I wonder how much of the day I spend just calling after you." "Well," she said, getting up from the kitchen chair, it's about time to make a pan of crackling bread, I reckon. You run along now and let me get supper on the table." Calpurnia bent down and kissed me. I ran along, wondering what had come over her. She had wanted to make up with me, that was it. She had always been too hard on me, and she had last seen the error of her fractious ways at last. She was sorry and too stubborn to say so. I was weary from the day's crimes. After supper, Atticus sat down with a paper and called, "Scout, ready to read?" The Lord sent me more than I could bear, and I went to the front porch. Atticus followed me. "Something wrong, Scout?" I told Atticus I didn't feel very well, and I didn't think I'd go to school anymore if it was all right with him. Atticus sat down in the swing and crossed his legs. His fingers wandered to his watch pocket. He said that was the only way he could think. He waited an amiable silence, and I sought to reinforce my position. "You never went to school, and you do all right, so I'll just stay home too. You can teach me like Granddaddy taught you and Uncle Jack." "No, I can't," Atticus said. "I have to make a living. Besides, they'd put me in jail if I kept you at home." "Dose of magnesia for you tonight and school tomorrow." "I'm feeling all right, really." "Thought so. Now what is the matter?" Bit by bit, I told him the day's misfortunes. "And she said you all taught me so wrong we can't ever read anymore, ever. Please don't send me back, please, sir." Atticus stood up and walked to the end of the porch. When he completed his examination of the wisteria of mine, he strolled back to me. "First of all," he said, "if you can learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. Sir, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it."